Never insult the dead on social media because their spirits may return to seek vengeance. The film begins by showing a young woman named Amber sitting in a chair, her body covered in wounds and her face filled with deep fear. On her lap lies a broken laptop, its cracked screen clearly unusable. Yet Amber keeps typing frantically, her fingers moving non-stop as she repeatedly whispers apologies to someone unknown. Beneath her chair, a strange symbol is drawn on the floor. At the door of her room, dozens of nails are deliberately hammered in, as if to block something from entering. The atmosphere grows more terrifying as the lights start flickering, making Amber even more frightened, and the movie officially begins. The scene then shifts to two high school girls, Kristen and Nicole, who are enjoying a party hosted by their friends.
Careful what you wish for. Hey girl, was this most epic night? Sorry, she's an idiot.
After the party ends, Kristen and Nicole spend time relaxing together, drinking alcohol while chatting. In the middle of their conversation, Nicole talks about her close friend Amber, expressing how much she misses her, since Amber has not been heard from for 10 days. Nicole has tried calling her, but Amber never answers. Driven by longing, Nicole opens Facebook to look for Amber's profile, hoping to find some clue about her whereabouts. To her surprise, when she opens Amber's page, she sees that Amber is online. Instead of contacting Nicole, Amber sends her a link to the profile of a girl named Morgan Rose. Out of curiosity, Nicole opens Morgan's profile and finds a post by Amber that directly tags Morgan in it. A clear photo of Morgan is displayed, but what captures Nicole's attention the most is not the photo itself, but the cruel words Amber wrote. Harsh, mocking insults are written there, as if Amber intentionally bullied Morgan in public. Morgan Rose, however, is not a stranger to Nicole and Amber. She was their classmate back in middle school, though they were never close. Morgan was known as a quiet, withdrawn girl who seemed different from most of her peers. Her reserved personality and unusual habits often made her the target of ridicule and bullying for years. Seeing Amber's mean-spirited comments, Nicole joins in and adds her own cruel remarks. Not satisfied with mocking Morgan alone, Nicole urges Kristen to do the same. At first, Kristen hesitates, since she doesn't know Morgan at all. But under the influence of alcohol clouding her judgment, Kristen finally gives in and posts insulting words on the thread as well.
Dude, you're like... You did it! I'm proud of you.
The next morning, after the effects of alcohol had worn off and her mind became clearer, Kristen remembered the comment she had written. A feeling of regret began to surface, and she quickly opened her laptop with the intention of deleting it. Strangely, no matter how many times she tried, the comment could not be removed. Before she could think further, Kristen's parents suddenly entered her room.
Hey, are you sure I can't go with you?
They told her that they would be leaving for a few days and asked Kristen to take care of the house while they were gone. Not long after her parents left, Kristen's laptop chimed with a new notification. She saw that Nicole had just uploaded a photo of the two of them from the party last night and tagged her in it. However, something strange appeared. In the photo, there were only Nicole and Kristen, but the tag list showed not just their names, there was also a third name tagged, Morgan Rose. Kristen brushed it off, assuming it was just a system glitch, and hurried to school so she wouldn't be late. At school, Kristen immediately approached Nicole. As they walked through the hallway together, Kristen took the chance to ask why Amber had bullied Morgan. Nicole replied that Amber was probably just fooling around or joking like she usually did. But Kristen knew it wasn't just a joke. With a serious expression, she told Nicole about the strange incident that had happened earlier that morning. She explained that she had tried to delete her negative comment about Morgan, but each time she deleted it, the comment reappeared. Nicole responded casually, thinking Kristen was just being paranoid. She knew Kristen wasn't the type of person who liked to bully, so she assumed Kristen's guilt was simply making her overthink. Their conversation was cut short when two boys, Jake and Clint, approached them. Clint was Nicole's boyfriend, while Jake seemed interested in Kristen. Jake chatted with her briefly, exchanged contacts, and then left as the school bell rang.
Have fun.
Your class is...
Later, when Nicole got home from school, she tried reaching out to Amber just to check in. Instead, Amber replied with a message filled with apologies. Before Nicole could respond, something shocking happened. Her father arrived and delivered the devastating news that Amber had been found dead by suicide. Hearing this, Nicole immediately rushed to Kristen to tell her the tragic news. People had said that before her death, Amber had been acting strangely, talking to herself, constantly frightened as though something was haunting her, until she could no longer endure it and chose to end her life. Hearing this, Kristen grew even more uneasy. Guilt overwhelmed her, especially because of the harsh comment she had written on Amber's post about Morgan Rose. Hoping to atone for her mistake, Kristen opened Morgan's Facebook profile and decided to send her an apology message. With deep regret, she wrote a heartfelt apology for the cruel words, hoping Morgan would forgive her. Kristen had also tried deleting her own comment, but once again it couldn't be erased. Within seconds, Morgan replied with a strange and unsettling message. From that point on, Kristen began experiencing unexplainable events. Terrified, she called Jake and begged him to come to her house. When Jake arrived, Kristen anxiously told him everything that had happened and pleaded with him to check every corner of the house, afraid that someone might have broken in without her knowing. After searching thoroughly, Jake found no one. They began talking to each other, and suddenly Kristen asked Jake if he knew Morgan Rose. Jake paused for a moment before admitting that he only knew of her but had never actually interacted with her. According to him, the ones who knew Morgan better were Amber and Nicole, since they had once been in the same class at St. Francis. Kristen grew more curious and pressed for more details. From Jake's story, Morgan was known as strange, quiet, and never got along with other students. Many at school avoided her, and she was often the target of ridicule. What shocked Kristen the most was the fact that Morgan suddenly dropped out during their second year of middle school. Weeks after she left, horrifying news spread that Morgan had been found dead by suicide. After that incident, everyone at St. Francis decided never to speak of Morgan Rose again, as if her existence had been erased from their memories. Elsewhere, Nicole, who was on a video call with Clint, suddenly experienced something strange.
If you need anything.
God.
One, to help you sleep. To make you feel better.
But the terrifying events did not stop there. In class, Nicole faced another horrifying incident. At first, she sat quietly, listening to her teacher explain the lesson, when suddenly her classmates turned on her, stabbing her with pencils. When she regained awareness, she found herself having wet herself, surrounded by strange stares from her classmates. Some laughed, while others recorded her with their phones, mocking her as if she had gone insane. Meanwhile, after finishing her class in the lab, Kristen decided to stay behind for a while once everyone had left. Alone in the empty room with the computer still on, she used it to open Facebook and search for Morgan Rose's profile. When she looked at a post containing Morgan's photo, her eyes were drawn to Amber's cruel comment. What made her shiver was the number of replies on that comment. 216,000, an impossible number. Out of curiosity, Kristen clicked on it to look closer, only to be shocked when she realized every single reply came from the same account, Amber's. Each reply contained the same single sentence repeated endlessly. Kristen panicked. How could one account reply to itself that many times, especially when Amber was already dead? Suddenly, strange things began happening to her, and then she received a message from Clint saying Nicole hadn't answered any of his calls. Worried, he asked Kristen to check on Nicole directly. Alarmed, Kristen rushed to Nicole's house, only to be horrified when she found Nicole's body covered in blood. Nicole looked terrified of something unseen. Kristen tried to calm her down, but Nicole kept rambling about a presence haunting her and driving her insane. Unable to bear it any longer, Nicole chose to end her life. Her death left Kristen devastated, burdened by guilt for not being able to stop it before it was too late. Clint arrived shortly after and could hardly believe Nicole had truly taken such a desperate step. To him, Amber's death was not the only reason. He believed something much bigger was happening. He pressed Kristen for answers, hoping she knew something, but Kristen remained silent, overwhelmed by grief. Clint grew frustrated, his voice rising as he demanded she speak. The tension escalated until Jake appeared and immediately told Clint to leave, warning him not to make things worse. Furious, Clint finally stormed off, and Jake then took Kristen home. Kristen began telling Jake everything that had been disturbing her ever since the night she wrote that cruel comment on Morgan Rose's photo. From that moment on, she felt as though something unseen had been haunting her. The same thing must have happened to Nicole, driving her insane, and to Amber, who experienced strange events before taking her own life. The more Kristen thought about it, the clearer the connection became. Amber, Nicole, and herself all shared one thing in common. They had each commented on Morgan Rose's post before tragedy struck them. Kristen believed there was something sinister about that post, as if a curse bound anyone who left a trace there. Jake listened intently, though it was difficult for him to fully believe her story. To him, everything that had happened could simply be coincidence or the product of overwhelming guilt. He tried to comfort Kristen, suggesting she rest and assuring her that all of this was likely just her imagination fueled by recent tragedies. The next day, Kristen decided to visit the school that Morgan Rose had once attended. After making sure the place was empty, she secretly slipped into the school's archive room, hoping to uncover something that could shed more light on Morgan's life. Kristen dug through stacks of files, searching for Morgan's name among the hundreds of old documents stored there. At last, she found several records about her. From these documents, Kristen learned that Morgan had been a quiet student who rarely interacted with others. She lived with her grandmother Maya, the only family she had. There were no records of her parents or any other relatives, and Maya never once attended parent-teacher meetings. According to several school reports, Morgan had often been mistreated by her classmates. She was frequently bullied for being different, forcing her to visit the teacher's office almost every day to report the abuse she endured. The constant pressure took a toll on her mental health, which deteriorated further over time. Maya eventually took her granddaughter to Valley Medical Center for therapy with Dr. Joshua, a specialist in treating psychological disorders in teenagers. However, there was no information about the outcome of those sessions. What was clear was that not long after Morgan left school, only a few weeks later, she was found dead by suicide. This meant that the therapy had failed to help her. Believing that Dr. Joshua was the only person who might hold the answers, Kristen resolved to seek him out. She wanted to know what truly happened during Morgan's therapy sessions and whether something there had pushed the girl deeper into despair until she chose to end her life. But before Kristen could meet Dr. Joshua, she was tormented by the ghost of Morgan.
She came to me for therapy.
After meeting with Dr. Joshua, he explained that Morgan was not an ordinary child. She possessed a special ability that few others had, the power to know things about anyone she met. Instead of being seen as a gift, this ability only made people around her avoid and fear her. She was considered strange, even labeled as creepy, which left her without friends. Dr. Joshua, who had been assigned to treat her, recognized Morgan's desire to socialize. He suggested she use the internet as a way to make friends, hoping it would ease her loneliness. At first, everything seemed to go well. Morgan began making new friends online, but things changed when she grew close to a man who showed interest in her. Although they never met in person, Morgan started a relationship with him. Over time, he began asking her to send explicit photos. Trusting him and believing she was loved, Morgan complied without any suspicion. Unfortunately, the man turned out to be malicious. The photos Morgan sent were spread throughout her school. Already a frequent target of bullying, she now suffered even worse torment. She was mocked not only in real life, but also online, with insults and humiliation coming from every direction. This drove her further into despair. Maya, who had lost faith in Dr. Joshua's treatment, eventually decided to take her granddaughter away from the city. However, 3 weeks later, Morgan was found dead by suicide. Hearing this, Kristen became even more determined to uncover the truth. She asked Dr. Joshua for Maya's address, and without hesitation, he gave it to her. Stepping out of the office, Kristen met Jake, who had been waiting outside. Without wasting time, she told him everything she had just learned, including Morgan's tragic story and why her spirit might still linger. Together, they agreed to visit Maya, hoping to find clearer answers to all that had been happening. When they arrived, the old woman looked at them suspiciously before asking the reason for their visit. Kristen honestly admitted that she was being tormented by Morgan's ghost after posting a cruel comment on her Facebook page. She begged Maya for help in ending it. Before offering assistance, Maya told them about Morgan's unusual gift, something no one else in their family had. She could see and know things just by looking at people. Students at school found her odd and dangerous, which left her isolated. Dr. Joshua had suggested she make friends online, so for her granddaughter's happiness, Maya bought her a laptop so she could connect with others through Facebook. At first, Morgan did gain many friends, but then one man seemed particularly caring toward her. Unbeknownst to her, he was not a good person. Once they grew close, he pressured Morgan into sending explicit photos. Believing his love was genuine, Morgan complied, but soon her private photos spread, dragging her into endless misery. She was insulted and ridiculed both in real life and online, bombarded daily with hateful messages that crushed her spirit. Maya found Morgan several times cutting her own wrists. Worse still, Morgan even harmed others, including Maya herself. Realizing Dr. Joshua's treatment had failed and was only worsening her condition, Maya decided to care for her at home. But that decision proved to be a mistake. Only weeks later, Morgan was found dead, having taken her own life. The tragedy left a deep scar on Maya, but now it was time for her to help Kristen, who was being tormented by the spirit of her granddaughter. Coming from a family with deep knowledge of mystical practices, Maya believed she could help Kristen with the teachings passed down through generations. She asked Kristen to relax and take a deep breath.
Now draw in.
Slowly, Kristen felt something strange. Her vision blurred, and before she realized it, she was drawn into Morgan's past memories. Kristen saw everything vividly. How Morgan innocently sent private photos to the man she trusted. How she felt overwhelming fear when those photos spread throughout the school, and how she became the target of constant mockery and humiliation. Kristen also witnessed Morgan gradually losing control of herself, repeatedly slashing her wrists in desperate attempts to erase her shame and pain, and even in her despair, harming her own grandmother. Overwhelmed by Morgan's suffering, Kristen collapsed, concluding there was no way to stop her, for the hatred inside Morgan had already transformed her into a vengeful entity. No apology or forgiveness could ever bring her peace. Kristen resigned herself to the possibility that Morgan truly intended to kill her. Seeing Kristen fall, Jake rushed to her side, growing agitated and raising his voice at Maya. He kept demanding to know how to end all of this, insisting that if it continued, not only Kristen, but he too would be in danger. Kristen, still weak, was confused. Why would Jake say his life was also at risk? Morgan clearly only wanted revenge on her for the cruel comment she had posted. Jake had never even had any connection to Morgan. Suddenly, another vision appeared in the minds of Kristen and Maya. The man who had approached Morgan online, the one who had ruined her life, was revealed to be Jake. He was the one who had destroyed Morgan and caused all her suffering. Realizing the truth, Maya glared at them with eyes full of hatred, her anger directed especially at Jake, the true root of her granddaughter's misery. To her, there was no reason to help them. Maya chose instead to do nothing, leaving them to face the consequences of their actions. The vengeful spirit of Morgan was no longer after Kristen alone. Now Jake had become her target as well. At first, Jake tried to find a way to escape, but he soon realized there was no safe place to hide. Morgan would not stop until her vengeance was fulfilled. Unable to endure the torment any longer, Jake ultimately chose to end his own life.
Oh my God, Jake, thank God we have to get out of here. No, Jake!
Meanwhile, Kristen was relentlessly terrorized by Morgan's spirit until she was dragged into a room. The final scene shows Kristen's parents returning home after being away for several days. They search for her and find their daughter in her bedroom in a pitiful state. sitting in the corner, eyes blank, muttering to herself as though speaking to someone invisible. Seeing their daughter reduced to madness, her parents were utterly devastated, blaming themselves for leaving her alone. And with that, the story ends.